PRI's victory was hardly unexpected, but the margin of victory appears smaller than most polls. What does the PRI victory mean for Mexico going forward?
It depends on whether you're an optimist or a pessimist. If you are a pessimist, you feel that it is the return of the party that ruled Mexico for 70 years and is largely responsible for our political inheritance today. And it is truly an inheritance of corruption, of cynicism, of tremendous class inequality, and of the whole political traditions of caciquismo, which is the acquisition and distribution of power through the hands of a single strongman, which operates from the presidential level on down to the state level and even to the municipal level. If you're an optimist, I suppose you could say that the PRI guaranteed stability in Mexico for 70 years, and that it is conceivably the most modernizing of the three parties in contention. It also means that nobody won a huge majority. Neither of the three parties did. None of the three parties did, I'm sorry. And that the country continues to be divided very much, roughly into thirds, slightly more, slightly less, and that you have a divided Congress. And although here the optimists say that that means that there is an equilibrium, the pessimists could say that it means that Congress will be paralyzed yet again and possibly turn into the kind of circus it has been for the last two administrations, in which parties yell at each other, shout, congresspersons beat each other up, congresspersons stage sleep-ins and show up with their pillows and blankets on the podium and don't allow discussion to take place. It is, for better or worse, a divided electorate.
Well, I'd like to ask you to be both an optimist a little more for a moment and a pessimist.
Oh.
On the optimist front, what might Peña Nieto do in the first year that would move Mexico forward? On the pessimist front, what is your greatest fear going forward?
On the optimist front, I would say that Mexico does need really from the ground up reform on its economic policy, particularly as regards state enterprises. And, you know, the big gorilla in the room is Pemex, the oil company. And the PRD has a strong feeling that Pemex should remain a national enterprise, meaning that its present structure should not be touched. And its present structure really leads to extraordinary waste and phenomenal corruption. The union leader's daughter was recently photographed in Cancun, and I believe in Paris, with her $8,000, gecko leather bag, and really just obscene kind of unnecessary spending. So I think that any effort to clear that up, to break the union's power, to bring in some form of competition within the Pemex structure, to make it perhaps more similar to Brazilian or Bolivian models, is a good thing. So I think that will probably happen in this administration soon. My worst fear for Mexico is that none of the candidates actually, had they won, and Peña Nieto particularly not perhaps, will be able to curb the extraordinary violence that has taken over Mexico and do something about the rule of impunity, which more than violence even is a problem, because impunity is at the heart of so much of what is happening here. It's a corrupt judicial system, a corrupt police and security force, a completely corrupt prison system. And I'm not sure at this stage, things have gone so far, I'm not sure that anything can be done about it.
One brief final question. I'd like to ask you to speculate. If Mexico had a system like France with the runoff election and there were a runoff in 2 weeks, who do you think might have won that?
I still think that the PRI would win. Um, I think that the PRD has a very stable electorate, but I don't think it's a growing electorate. I think the PRI was on a roll. I think that people are sick of so much insecurity. They wanted to throw everybody out. And considering that the PRI won not a single state in the presidential elections in 2006, it's a sign of how much the electorate is anxious to find something new by looking for something old, that it happened to win handily. I mean, 5% is a narrow difference, but it is a win in 2012. I think it's important to say about the PRD that it did get 35% of the vote approximately in 2006, and it got 30% of the vote now. You know, that's not bad for a candidate running for a second time. And I think that they got such a high vote, not because López Obrador is a great candidate. He's not. He's a terrible candidate. You know, he mumbles, he has disorganized thoughts, he shouts, "Shut up, you squawking bird," to his rival in 2006, and people really do not like that. He's bored, he doesn't know the answers, he's a terrible candidate. But people vote for him because he says, this system is completely rotten, let's get rid of it. And so there is 30% of the electorate, which over a 6-year period agrees with that. And it is particularly in the south, the poorest part of Mexico.
Thank you very much, Alma, and we look forward to talking to you again in the not too distant future.